Am I here?
Yes. Are
Sorry
you?
about that. I had major technical difficulties, but I have an excuse here on Dallas Cowboys Overtime, here on StarTelegram.com. I am Fort Worth Star Telegram columnist Mac Engel, and I am in pain. Now, that good-looking gentleman on the other side of the screen is not any pain. He is Mr. Clarence Chill Hill. Clarence, I'm guessing you probably want to know why I'm wearing this godforsaken dog collar.
I'm just trying to figure out are you scamming us?
It's a good question. I think you have to ask that in these days, considering the potential payouts. No, I wish I was scamming you and anybody else, because at least with a scam, I would feel like there was a giant pot of gold at the end of this horrible rainbow. No, I'm not scamming you. I had neck fusion surgery 2 weeks ago today, in fact. Not as much fun as it sounds. Not as much fun as it sounds, because not only, here, I'll show you. Let's see if I can get this thing off. Because not only do they go into your neck, hang on a second, bear with me here. Let's see here. So not only, Clarence, do they go into my neck. Can you see that? Can you see that right there? You see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Let's see if I can get it around. There it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
goes.
Can you see it? Okay, there it is. So not only did they go into my neck to repair an area right around my spinal cord, which scared the living hell out of me, by the way, they needed to take a piece out of my bone, out of a piece of my hip bone, in order to fuse these two vertebrae together, 5 and 6, C5, C6, just in case you're wondering.
So it's the same thing that Leighton Vander Esch had, neck fusion?
Yeah, actually it is. It's not a terribly uncommon surgery. And unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I don't have any more aspirations to play in the NFL, even though a lot of teams call me routinely, asking for me to, see if I'll come on and help them out.
Just lies.
Yeah. It's similar to, I think it is actually similar to what Leighton had. It's similar to what Peyton Manning had. I have a lot of tingling and numbness and pain in my hands and my fingers. That's the weird part. I didn't have any pain in my back or my neck, knock on wood. It was all my hands and fingers. And here's the best part. Yeah, they still hurt. So there's no guarantee this is going to work. The hope was that in case something like I fell or got in a car accident or something like that, that at least I would be in better position to prevent myself from paralysis.
Right.
Because, and I don't know if you go through this, Clarence, as you get older, there's certain things where you're like yeah, paralysis? Yeah, I'd rather be dead. I don't want any part of that. So that's why I eventually, Clarence, I called every doctor on the planet just to find a reason not to have this surgery. That's how badly I didn't want to do it. But I did it, and I have to wear this dumb thing for a little bit longer, and I can't drive anywhere. So that really is a lot of fun, just taking my dog for walks.
You pick up basketball and the contact of any like that?
That's why, to be honest, that was one of the reasons why I did the surgery, because I had to quit all that. I did anything where I could get hit. Like, it was so strange. And again, I don't know if you've had stuff like this. I would have shooting pains up my spinal cord, like for nothing. Like I might miss a step. Like I might walking on a flat ground and maybe the ground was a little uneven and I might hit that the wrong way and I'd get the shooting pain down my spinal cord. Then it would go up my hands. So that's why I did it. And yeah, it stinks. They think it's probably as a result of whiplash. Now, how did I get the whiplash? This is why it's okay. Flying with the Blue Angels. So that makes it worth it. Like, it's such a guy thing to say too, right? Oh, you flew with the Blue Angels. Well, that's totally worth it, dude. Good for you. So that age, genetics, it all played a role.
Well, I'm glad you're better. We're glad you're back. We're glad you're back to doing these things, and you're on the road to recovery.
I am on the mend.
Still got that ugly face and that thinning hair, but it's okay.
Yeah, the hair's looking pretty good too. I'm feeling pretty good about the hair. You mentioned health, so since we're on the topic of good health, you're covering the Cowboys right now, who are in full off-season training mode, which means Dak Prescott is talking to us again, we media people, and he says he's completely healthy. And as a result of his good health, that should be a tremendous plus for the Dallas Cowboys and their attempt to do something that you and I both know that they'll never do again, which is reach a Super Bowl. Clarence, you talked to Dak Prescott. Does he sound any different this time around as a result of these surgeries and being in good health for the first time in an offseason when it feels like many, many years?
Yeah, I mean, and that's just it. He can do things he wasn't able to do last offseason, actually previous offseason as well, because, people forget, headed into the 2020 season, he was in a contract holdout. His brother passed away, and he also suffered from depression, getting the pandemic. So he didn't do anything with his teammates during that offseason. Last offseason, he was recovering from, the ankle surgery and didn't do anything, as far as he was rehabbing, didn't do anything with his teammates until it started training camp. So this is the first full offseason in 3 years where he's fully engaged, can do all the stuff in the offseason program. First time since Mike McCarthy's been there, he's been a part of the offseason program. He throw with his teammates, his receivers, get on the same place receivers in offseason. So that's a plus, and from a Cowboys standpoint, that's a win. That's something we talk about, this doom and gloom of the offseason. They've lost these guys. They've had all these distractions. Well, the one positive they can feel good about, that thing that can help them get over the top, is that Dak Prescott is fully healthy and ready to go. Will that be enough? I don't know. But Dak Prescott says the Cowboys haven't taken a step back.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Because, they lose Amari Cooper. They lose Randy Gregory. They lose some other players. Now they did, they went to the draft and they had, the offensive lineman out of Tulsa who should start right away at guard. So you think that's a plus, but they had some big losses. Are you buying Dak's optimism? Oh, we didn't take a step back. Just because he said it
doesn't make it so.
Damn right. I'm not buying it. Are you?
No,
Clarence, hang on. Let me take that back.
Not me.
No, let me take that back. The question I just asked. Do you think Dak and the players believe that they didn't take a step back? He's got to say it. Do you think they believe that? And that's
I think they believe it because that's who they are, and they have to believe that. But one thing, the people who are not believing, Cowboy fans.
What about Cowboys?
I continue to think.
You don't buy it. I don't buy it. Do you buy it?
I think that more Cowboy fans are more disillusioned and jaded than ever before. I posted that story, and they say that every offseason. Show it on the field. We don't want to hear any talk. No one's buying the optimism. No Cowboy fans are not buying the optimism, offseason optimism that they've had in past years. They're jaded. They're fed up. They're frustrated, and so that's an important note. Even though you say last offseason, Dak didn't really say it because he was rehabbing whatever else, but people are just putting everything together. No one's feeling it. I certainly don't think the Cowboys on paper are as good as they were last year because, number one, they could have done everything they'd done in the offseason, still kept Amari Cooper. They had no reason. They didn't have to get rid of Amari Cooper.
Don't get me started.
I agree with you. They could have done everything they've done and still kept Randy Gregory, still kept them guys and added who they added in the draft. One had nothing to do with the other. On paper, no, they're not as good.
I think what I'm more.
But what the key things that Dak said, we had those guys last year. We didn't do nothing with them.
That's
one thing to have talent, but if you don't produce, it doesn't matter. But of course, you guys were a part of that too.
No, Clarence, that's not entirely true. They won the division. They won 12 games, and they hosted a first-round playoff game, and they blew it. Hey, I'm with you. But this idea that they did nothing, I think there's different layers of doing nothing.
With the Cowboys, there's
like the Detroit Lions, because they did nothing.
Cowboys is only one layer that matters. Or you get to the
championship game,
or you get to the Super Bowl. All this other stuff, it doesn't matter.
No, it should, but it doesn't. Tank Lawrence, this is a veteran who's come back. He took a salary cut to come back to the Cowboys. He's one of my all-time favorite talkers, certainly with this current team. But of any Cowboys I've ever been, a Cowboy player I've been around, Tank's one of my favorites because he's pretty honest. And he comes back and he's changed his hair. I kind of miss that. But he tells you guys that he's ready to reclaim his dominance as the best defensive player on that defense and potentially take the sack lead from Micah Parsons. You referenced it. This is the Micah Parsons effect of playing around other great players. Clarence, do you think there's any way Tank Lawrence takes away the sack lead from Micah Parsons?
No. but
unless Mike is hurt.
It's a good conversation to have.
No, it's a good problem.
If they're vying for sack titles, as Jerry said, it lifts all boats. Okay. If the thing about it is, we know Michael's not taking a step back. He had 13 sacks last year. He's going to get double-digit sacks. If we could get DeMarcus Lawrence back to getting double-digit sacks and competing with Michael for the sack title, who does that benefit? The Cowboys, Cowboy fans, the Cowboys defense. It lifts all boats. So we don't really have to get into the minutia of can he do this or not. Just do something. Just compete with Michael Parsons. Be that dominant self again. Here's a bold idea. Have two dominant defensive players.
You know, one thing about Tank Lawrence that I think goes underappreciated because we get so, and I'm just as guilty of this as anybody who follows football, is that you do fall in love with a number. And with a defensive player, you really, especially on a front seven guy, you fall in love with sacks. You know, when I watched Tank Lawrence last season, I saw a guy who played really, really well. Now, granted, he missed a decent amount of time because of his foot injury, but when he played and when he has played, his sack totals may not be massive, but that guy's making a difference and allowing other guys to get sacks. Do you think, I think, that his level of production and his level of dominance has been overlooked the last couple of years because we just don't see Aaron Donald numbers instead of appreciating a guy who's still a high-end player, maybe not the same guy he was 3 years ago, but a high-end player who's created avenues for other guys to rack up sack totals.
You know, there's always saying that more than one thing can be true, okay? And what you're saying is DeMarcus Lawrence's total game, what he does in the run game, what he does affecting the quarterback is important. He's been a dog. He makes an impact. There's no question about that. He's not a squirrel about that. He's not a jag. He's not just collecting paychecks.
Yeah, he's not stealing money.
No, he's definitely not stealing money. He's still a dominant player when he's healthy and when he's on the field. The problem is he's not been healthy. You know, he has not been. He's always, even the last 5 years, he's always coming to the season rehabbing and overcoming surgeries. Never, and that's the difference with this season is he's not rehabbing anything. He's just working toward the season. So he's trimmer. He cut off his dreads. He is in better shape. But what's also true is the Cowboys paid him $5 million. They gave him a $65 million signing bonus or guaranteed money because of the sacks.
Yep, they did.
Because of the sacks.
No, they did. You're right.
That's why he got paid.
That's it. That's how guys. Well, there are a lot of guys in the history of the league,
and so he
get paid because of sack.
And when he says, "I want to reclaim the sack numbers," he understands that that's what gets the attention. So he wants to get back up. Yes, he understands what he does, all the parts of the game. But understand, he got paid for the sacks and affected the quarterback. He wants to get back to doing that. So that's when he talks about restating his own dominance and reclaiming the sack title. He's talking about the sacks.
Okay, speaking of guys getting paid and crazy statements, my favorite owner in the history of professional sports, Jerry Jones. Boy, he really pulled a Jerry out of his hat on this one. He says, not me, not you. He says CeeDee Lamb as a number one receiver is an upgrade over Amari Cooper. Yeah, that sounds just dumb enough to be a Jerry. I think CeeDee Lamb could be, but to say he's going to do that, especially without somebody who can draw some attention away from him at least a little bit, especially in the first part of the season, when Michael Gallup, we don't know what he's going to be. Man, this seems a little stupid even for Jerry to say that this prematurely.
Jerry being Jerry, and he has to sell the trade. He's still selling the trade because people, as I said, they really didn't have to make the trade. And so you got to justify why you made the trade, especially since Amari Cooper's contract doesn't look that expensive now with all these other receiver contracts at $30 million a year at this point. So he has to continue to sell that. But we all know this day was coming. You know, when you drafted CeeDee Lamb in the first round, you gave it number 88. You know, it was with the understanding that he's going to be the number one receiver at some point.
Yeah, but we didn't expect it in 2022. Clarence.
I think this was more. I'm just saying, we knew this day was coming.
No, you're right.
We didn't expect it. We didn't. I mean, that was the natural progression. That was the expectation. You know, he thought he has that type of ability. Now he hasn't had a chance to do it. Now he led them receiving last year, but still, Amari was getting all the double team.
He did.
He was getting a lot of stuff out of the slot, getting second and third cornerbacks. Now he's going to face the number one cornerbacks, and he's going to get the focus of the defense. Let's see what he does, but he has the potential to do that. He hasn't had the opportunity to do that. He hasn't shown he can do that. but the Cowboys believe everything is out there for him. And just talking to CD, he's gained a half inch in height. He's gained about 10 pounds. He's ready to try to make it happen.
You know, if you combine his ability to go get it, I'm talking about go up and go get it, which was, he was better at it than Amari. I think he was probably faster than Amari. If he was 80% the route runner that Amari Cooper was last season, Amari Cooper was, like you and I have raved about Amari Cooper's ability as a route runner. But given all those physical traits that CD has, his age for sure, if he becomes 80%, maybe check it up to 85% the route runner that Amari was, then I'll buy that. I just see that gap, especially talking about going against the number ones and the kind of command he's going to get from other teams' top defensive backs. Man, I don't know about it. It just seems a little bit premature. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is a 95 catch, 1,000, 1,200 yard receiving kind of guy. It just seems like there's just a little bit left to prove that whether or not he's going to do it this season.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody understands that, but CD said he's been waiting for this opportunity. He's embracing it. You know, and Dak moved his locker next to Dak's. He said he's right next to Dak in the locker room. They're going to be on the same page. But we also know that, you know, when Jared talked about him being a better, he said he's going to be a better player, upgrade on the field, in the locker room, off the field. You mean he's going to be vaccinated if he needs to be vaccinated. He's not going to miss games because he's not vaccinated. Okay.
Well, you know, I'm laughing about it. You and I both know that was something they definitely used against Amari Cooper when they were weighing the decision to keep him or trade him or cut him. That they really didn't like the fact that he did not get that shot. Correct?
Of course. And Mike Irvin talked about it. If you're, you should do everything it takes to be a champion and whatever. So you will be on the field to help your team win. He didn't do that.
No, but one guy who did, as we make our transition from from football to basketball, is Luka Doncic. Now, you and I both covered the Dallas Mavericks a little bit during their fun playoff run that ended in Game 5 of the NBA's Western Conference Finals as the Mavericks and Luka Doncic advanced 2 rounds to the finals, West Finals, before losing to the eventual NBA champion Golden State Warriors. It was a lot of fun to watch. It was a lot of fun to cover as the Mavericks had their best postseason since winning the NBA Finals in 2011, led by a European and Luka Doncic. Clarence, you and I both kind of have the same thought, which is the Mavericks have that generational player that they had with Dirk. And then I think you and I both would agree that Luka is way ahead of Dirk Nowitzki at the same point in their respective careers, way ahead. That Luka, in my mind, can be one of those greatest of all time type players if he really commits to the next level of conditioning, professionalism, all of it. Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal both didn't hesitate going after Luka after the Game 5 loss in Golden State, but because those guys live the NBA MVP life and they know what's expected of players who are just that good. Luka's sitting on all of it if he wants it. Do you think he wants it?
I think he wants it. I just think he's young. I mean, he's enjoying it, and he wants to win. You can see he's a competitor. You can't question his competitiveness. You have to know how to win, and you have to, there was a time early in Jordan's career when he recommitted his game and his life to his physical fitness. Yep. Got tougher, got stronger because he had to withstand the wars. Go look at Shaq. There were times when he had to recommit himself to his physical fitness. Same thing with Barkley. He had to round amount of rebound. He had to commit himself to his physical fitness. One thing that we love, Luka, the type of player he is, his potential. He's still a young player. First team All NBA the last 2 seasons. I think he has a chance to be a front runner for MVP next year, one of the best players in the game. But he has to commit himself in the offseason. We cannot.
Clarence, I agree. I totally agree with you and I on the same page about it because he's not fat. We're not talking about a fat guy.
No.
He reminds me
he still gets baby fat.
Yeah, baby fat. But he reminds me a little bit of Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony wasn't fat. And Carmelo Anthony is one of the best players in the NBA the last 20 seasons. But there always something was about Carmelo in terms of either he just didn't really want to do it because he didn't have to do it. Because I think you're right. Shaq, Barkley, all those guys, Jordan, at some point they realized if I'm going to be that, then I've got to do this. Do you think, because Carmelo never wanted to do it, he never did it. Do you think Luka will? I have a feeling he's 23 and he's been pretty coachable. I think he will. Do you?
Oh, I think he will. And I think that if you listen to the message, I mean, Jason Kidd, said something about committing ourselves in the offseason to play late in the season. He was sending a shout out to Luka.
Totally.
You need to commit yourself in the offseason to be in the best shape you can to come into the season healthy. Number one, it helps you get a better record going into the postseason because you're fully engaged. We're not, the past 2 seasons he's played himself into shape during the season. He did not come into the seat to the start of the year in shape. He needs to come into the year in shape so they can be better to start the season. He can be stronger to play himself because it's not about less Luka. We want more Luka. We don't want to limit his minutes. The Mavericks want Luka to be strong in the postseason. And the only way you're going to be able to do that and continue to be strong, because there were times in the playoffs where he's worn down because of all the minutes he has to play, and you want him to play those minutes, but you need him to be healthy and strong to be able to do that. Again, that starts by committing yourself in the offseason. He cannot be the fat boy anymore. I'm saying, that's just a word because he's not fat, but he can get in better shape. He can chisel his body. He can do some things to get his body in better physical condition to withstand the wars in the NBA, and that's all we're talking about. Because
I think
now they transcendent talent.
No, and one last thing before we wrap up this episode of Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com. I am curious your thoughts about this. You love basketball. I love basketball. It looks like the Mavericks are going to make every attempt to keep Jalen Brunson. And in doing so, they keep the second scorer and second ball handler that they had been looking for that maybe they really didn't know they had until Luka suffered that injury that prevented him from playing the first 3 games of this postseason run where Brunson flourished. And as a result, the team looked like it has a second scorer in Brunson and maybe Tim Hardaway too when he comes back from the foot injury along with Spencer Dinwiddie. Tell me the player, not by name because it's too hard. Tell me the player that you think they've got to go get to get to the NBA Finals. The type of player, not the name, the type of player.
Well, I mean, they need a big man. They got a hole in the middle. I mean, there's no question about that. They have a hole in the middle. And everybody's talking about Aiden. They can't go get Aiden. They don't have the money to go get Aiden.
They're not going to get Aiden.
They don't have the money to go get Aiden. But they have to go get a big man. They need somebody in the middle, to rebound and score to help them get easier baskets because it can't be everything outside. And certainly that's part of their game. But they have a hole in the middle, and that's their problem. It's a liability for them. With rebounds and everything else because they lose the rebounding battle night in and night out. And Luka's your leading rebounder. You need somebody inside that can hold down the middle. That's what.
And it's not it's not Dwight Powell. I know they like Dwight Powell a lot for all the right reasons, but I think this playoff run really exposed what he can do for a team that has championship aspirations. Clarence, we've gone way too long. Sorry about that, but this has been fun. Thank you for asking me about my neck as I sit here. Hopefully, wish me good thoughts. I'm supposed to go back to the doctor in 2 days, and hopefully I can take my neck brace off and start driving again. So fingers crossed.
All right, man. Good luck, man. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thanks, Clarence, for Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com. I'm Mac Engel. He's Clarence Hill. See you next time.